Hey guys, so what's been happening in the hobby this week? Well, we're getting close to Christmas, so I thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about, painting something for someone else, as a gift. Yeah, we're getting on to Christmas, and in my club, we've got a little thing going where we're painting miniatures for each other. It's meant to be, like a Secret Santa thing, so hopefully no one from my club is watching this video, because this will go out before we actually give them away and try to work out who painted what. But anyway, I've got to do this video, so here we are. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. We're just going to have a bit of a chat about that, and the benefits of doing something for someone else, a sort of altruistic kind of, expression of your hobby, and how that makes you feel and those kind of things. And, and all of those little bits of ins and outs that come into doing that for someone. Because it is a really fun thing to do, and I think it's worth talking about as we're in the season. And to do that, we're going to be painting this this orc here. I can't remember what his name is, Skit Rod or something. I don't know. Anyway, he's the commando orc for 40k, and I think he's pretty fun. And we're gonna use some underpainting, overpainting techniques here. I'm borrowing the recipe from our Nurgle skin painting tutorial, but we're doing some slight variations. So there's some Warlord purple in there instead of magenta, and we're using a yellow instead of Kraken skin for the highlights. So you get a cool tone up into a warm tone, hopefully, and get a very sort of classic orc flesh, but with a slight variation. We're gonna have a few other colors going on in there, but it should be a really cool one to try, so that'll be good. So we're gonna go through that, and then the other sort of colors and so on for this one will be very classic, similar to the box art actually. So yeah, but it should be a really cool one to do. And we'll do some Christmas flashbangs there, maybe some red and green ones for the little grenades that he's got. I think that'll be pretty cool. So anyway, I think we should get started, eh? So painting for someone else, well, you don't often do it. It's not something that people do every day, unless you're a commission painter, but then you're getting paid for it, right? But, as something just to do for someone else, it's usually around these sorts of times of year, maybe someone's birthday or whatever. That's the time really that you might choose to do something like this. It usually takes an occasion generally, but not always. Sometimes, you've got a friend who's getting into the hobby and you want to help them out. So you might paint a couple of things for them to get them started, or you might paint with them, that sort of thing. So there's a number of ways that you might end up doing this for someone, but it's often at these sort of times of year like Christmas. And it's a great way to try it out, to do it. Or it could be a charity event or something like that, maybe. Yeah, so you've got a few different ways in which you might engage with this. But, it's definitely something that's worth thinking about and maybe having a go at, because there are some benefits to you, like it's not all altruistic. There is actually like something going on there that does actually benefit you as a person, and it's just all positive, right? There's really no negative. We're not going to be doing a pros and cons, because there really isn't a negative to doing this. It's just a fun thing to do for others, and that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about, and maybe some of the cool ways in which you can engage with it. So for me, it was my club, and they wanted to do the Secret Santa thing, but with miniatures, and there's a little painting competition set with this as well. And so we paint a model that someone else has bought in the bag, and we get randomly picked, and then we paint it up for them, right? And there's a few things there for our club. It's some of the guys had some colors that they wanted for it. So for this one, I think he's meant to be in like some sort of red desert, so we'll be doing a red desert base. But some people were more specific, some people were less specific about it. But you're still got free reign to paint what you want for that person, right? So we're going to be doing some fun things on this model and trying it out. But ultimately it goes to someone else, so you don't get to keep it at the end. But of course, in the case of this sort of Secret Santa idea, I've got a model that's being painted by someone else, so I'll get a model in return that's been painted by someone, and that'll be a fun thing as well. So if you are doing it in that way, you're then getting a kind of a reciprocity there of you're doing something cool for someone else and painting that mini up, but then you're getting one in return, and you're getting that experience of being the receiver of that gift. So that's a really nice way to do it, like between you and your mates. You could be, okay, we'll all paint something, randomly for each other, and then give those gifts, and then you get to get both sides of that equation. So yeah, where would you start? Well, I think that that's a great place to begin is, if you've got a couple of mates and you all get together and you say, okay, like for Christmas, we'll paint a mini for each other, and you can do it as a secret Santa or as, what's coming. It's really, down to your own group and what everyone feels and wants. But that's a great way to start this type of thing. Or you could just do it off your own back and, surprise someone. And that's a really great way to start on this type of thing is just, pick someone that could really, benefit from getting a painted model. Maybe you've got a mate who really struggles with painting and, or they don't have much money and they can't afford a lot of the minis and they've been really wanting a certain mini for their army or whatever. You guys are playing games and they're always, one or two minis short and you proxy it and whatever. But it'd be that they'd find it really amazing if they had that miniature, Everyone has a mate or two that, that this hobby tends to be a little bit tough for, and that's perfectly fine, and that's normal. This is a very expensive hobby to have, and we're all there at one point or another. Each of us in this hobby has experienced the shortcomings of our funds, and when we want more than we can actually have. There's a saying there for that. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, where your eyes are bigger than, I don't know. Anyway, there's that saying. Maybe someone can put that in the comments, but you sort of want more than you can actually afford, and that happens with everyone. So you might have a friend that is in that place and they'd really love to have, maybe it's a general or, their leader model or a hero or something, nothing huge, but maybe just something really important that, or it could be big. I mean, it's up to you really, that it's just something that would be really fun, or it can be like a humorous one, a miniature that isn't part of a game or anything, but, they just love that type of character or that type of archetype. And, you see a really cool sculpt for that. And so you want to paint that for that person. That's another way of doing it, and that can be a really fun way to start, because sometimes when you do it with friends, there's a little bit of expectation there, maybe a little bit of, I guess, pressure to perform, especially in the case of my club. We've got a little painting competition with it. So that adds a little bit of extra sort of, it adds fun, but also a little bit of tension as well, because you're now competing a little bit there. And that can be a great motivator as well to get the miniature done, but it can also be a hindrance for some people. So, doing it off your own back as a secret thing that you're just giving a gift to someone is a great way to remove some of that tension and have a go at this without it really, dominating, your time. And if you don't get it done in time, no one's the wiser, and you can always gift it at another time. That's another great benefit of just doing it off your own back without telling anyone, because you can set a time frame that's more acceptable to your life. And that can be a really good thing too, because sometimes doing these things, that they can get put to the back burner, right? Because it's not immediate. You've got other things in your life and they sort of take precedent. But really completing something like this is actually really beneficial, even though it doesn't seem maybe at the time when you're very busy that important, but actually completing it has a lot of, benefits to you, just emotionally and, just feeling good because you're doing something really nice for someone else. And so there's some great ways to sort of engage with that process. And then you have, I guess the other one is, it may be more events or sort of more established situations, like it may be hobby stores or clubs. You might have a charity running or some sort of fundraiser or something like that. And that can be another way to really engage with this type of process and do something really nice for someone else. So you're in now, and that's sort of upping the pressure then, right? Because now you're really committed to completing that. And for some people, that type of deadline or extra pressure is actually a really good thing, and it motivates you and gets you going to actually complete the project and get it done. And so that's a really fun way to engage with this too. And there is many tournaments around the world and events that run fundraisers, and that can be really fun. And often that can be, you'll be part of a collective of people, maybe producing an army to give away, or a large model or something like that, or many different models, depending on what the event is. But yeah, that's another really fun one to do. And you might end up painting something that you wouldn't normally paint. And that's sort of another inroad into the next part of this, is that often you'll be painting something that's totally different from what you would normally do. And that opens up a lot of doorways for experimentation and for the painting of it, which is, or even the converting of it, many different avenues, which we'll touch on now. But, that's a really great thing, because it's now getting you out of your comfort zone. It's moving you into into another space. You're starting to think about things a little differently, and you might start to play around with different colors and approaches. You might end up doing like an oil wash on one or something like that. There's many different things. I mean, this could be a historical model. So if you're doing historicals, well, then there's a different kind of color palette for that. And definitely oil washes and things like that will work really well on those sorts of minis. So, it could take you down a road that you didn't really think you would, and it could end up being something where you actually uncover some new likes about certain minis or types of minis that you didn't know you liked before. You might have only been painting Space Marines, for instance, or whatever it is, or you might only be painting undead or some particular faction in a Games Workshop game like Warhammer, or you might be doing Infinity and doing only sci-fi minis. And then, your friend just really loves, I don't know, for sake of something simple like a dragon, right? And you've never really painted dragons before, but, you see a really cool little mini that's, not a huge dragon, something that's manageable, and you go and you do it and you find you really enjoy that type of mini, and it sends you down a new path, and you start maybe painting a second one and so on, even after you've given the gift. And that can be a really fun experience, and also open up some other little avenues into a narrative, or a little bit of story behind the mini that you're painting. Like for instance here on the orc, we're going to give him some hot pants, some nice bright red hot pants, because in my canon, my lore for this orc, he's a commando. He's learned a little bit about human tactics, and he might be looking at Orc Illustrated, and he's seen the new fashion, the new sports fashion. He wants to look racing hot when he goes out in the battlefield, and run around all sneaky, and so he's going to have those red hot pants. Now logically that's going to make him a target, but for orcs, they don't really worry too much about logic. They only care about what feels right to them, and so he's going to wear those hot pants, and he's going to be the best commando he can be, and that's really fun, for orcs. You get to play around with those ideas because they sort of defy logic a bit. Their sort of psychic potential that they have allows them to create unusual realities around them that normally wouldn't work. Things like buggies and so on that are run on different sorts of odds and ends that normally wouldn't work, but because the orcs believe in it, it does work. And so that's a really fun aspect of orcs that you can dig into. But there are many narratives that you could go down depending on what you're painting, and that might influence the color scheme, the choices you make, etc. And so one of those choices might be to convert. So that's like the next step. You might really get into this and you start thinking about all the things that you could do with the model to further, exaggerate some of that lore. Maybe it is for Christmas, so you want to add a Christmas theme to the model. You might want to do some snow base or some sort of like elaborate diorama around it. And that's like a whole nother step again. But initially it might just be a simple conversion. So you might change something about the model. You might put a little beard on it and a little Santa hat. There's any number of like simple ways that you can jazz up the model to make it feel more like a gift, and the base is a great one. So if you don't feel confident about converting, you might start with just something fun on the base, and that can be as simple as a paint scheme for it. As I said, maybe snow, but it could be any number of things. You could put it on a plinth, and that would give you more variety in terms of like height and so on, and how you could go with it. But you could create an entire diorama. It might have a second mini there. That your imagination might run wild with you and start to come up with all kinds of little narratives for your little gift that you're giving, which can be really fun. A long time ago, I gave my grandmother, I think it was a Tyrion model, the old Tyrion on the horse from old Warhammer Fantasy days. I'm pretty sure it was Tyrion. And I painted up a nice little version of him on the horse. But I got a little plinth, and I put some effort into the base and had a little sort of mound that the horse was rearing up on and all those sorts of things. So I gave it a little bit of a narrative and added a bit more dimension to the gift. And so that was a really lovely thing, and my grandma obviously enjoyed it and all that. But it was a fun way to sort of dig into that little project and just add a little bit more to it that you normally wouldn't have. And I think I'm pretty sure there's in that old model it came with a dead night elf or something like that on the base. So there was a little bit more narrative there. I tried not to do too much blood and guts. You're giving it to your grandma. You don't want to shock her with the realities of Warhammer. So I kept it PG. But there's those little things there that you can do to extend that narrative a bit and create something really unique for your friend or whoever you're giving it to, family member, etc. So there's lots and lots of ways that you can really explore this idea and come up with some really fun ways to give a gift, give a very unique Warhammer gift, because we'll touch on this now. The uniqueness of this type of gift is very singular. There's not too many gifts like this unless you're, I guess, maybe you're a carpenter or a builder or something, then you can build something for someone or do something really special like that. But taking your hands and your skills and your mind towards something like this, where you're crafting something, you're spending hours in a creative process to achieve a result, is actually a really special thing, and creative people, it's one of those things that creative people get into. And if you're a hobbyist and you're painting miniatures, that's what you are. You're a creative person, you're an artist of sorts. And it's a very special gift to give that to someone, which normally the average person may or may not think about to do. But you get to do this in a very elaborate way, because as we know, miniature painting is very hard, and all the layers and steps that you go through, as well as the converting and so on. And so you're actually giving someone a really, really special gift that they would never get from anyone else. And I think that's the really lovely thing about miniature painting as a gift, is it is very singular and very unique. And there's not going to be many of those gifts that person will ever receive, unless they're another hobbyist, obviously. But, if it's someone like your grandma or someone like that, that'll be probably the only type of gift of that sort that they'll actually get. And, might give multiple gifts to that person, but, it's a very unique thing. And that's something else that's really lovely about this kind of gift giving, is that, you get to do something that only you can do for them, or at least you probably are the only person in their life that they know that does this thing, this very strange, hobby that we all share in, this very sort of unique little thing that we do, and they're getting something really special from that is from you. And I think that's the most wonderful part of the whole journey, is that sharing of something unique that can never be done anywhere else, including the paint job. That paint job is unique, that you do for that mini, and and they'll get to enjoy that for many, many years, and that's great. And I think that's where we'll leave it. The uniqueness of gift giving with miniatures is something that's really special, that we can all engage in, no matter what the level of painting you are, or the skill level, that sort of thing. It doesn't really matter. The energy you put into that, the feeling you give to it, all of those things are really amazing. And the person that you give that to is really going to be blown away by the amount of generosity and effort that's gone into that. And I think that's a really special thing, no matter what age you are or skill level or any of those things. It's something that we can all partake in. I think that's really special. So we'll leave it there. We'll have a look and see how this orc's gone, and have a look at those hot pants and see if he's come together as well as I hope he has. And that's really cool. And we'll take a look and see what my last thoughts are on this. And there we go, one Christmas gift, all done. Let's take a look. So yeah, here's how he came out. I mean, it's pretty cool, right? He's got his hot pants there with the little Nike symbol on the leg there. And I mean, he's pretty cool, right? We've got some nice little, eye lenses there with some gloss varnish on them. So I went through and just did a few little touch-ups here and there, some little extra little details, etc. Around him. But I think he came up pretty cool. I really like it. It's, got that nice harmony there between the reds and the blue, all the way through between the skin tones into the blue blacks, even on the base. It's all coming together in a nice harmonious whole, which I really, really enjoy. It's a nice painterly style. You can do it really quickly, and it comes up really, really cool, and very fun for Christmas, right? He's got his little flashbangs there with the Christmas colors. I think that's pretty good. So I'm sure my friend at the club will enjoy this, and he'll be in the prize collection there for his orcs, I'm sure, doing his commando thing and getting in behind enemy lines in his hot pants. Should be really cool. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll leave a nice image for him at the end, as I normally do, but I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button, it really helps me out, and I guess I'll catch you on the next one.